eat GMO, be my guest.
Yeah.
But if you want to eat natural food, be my guest. Because there are some people who will argue that people are dying of hunger anyway. So they would eat anything. They would eat anything that is edible. And of course, it was sad when, of course, Korea said, the CS for Trade said that we are a nation who have many things that are going to die of many things. And so he's decided to add one thing so that we can have a cocktail of many things to choose from.
We'll have to look for the CS to clarify what he meant by that statement. And of course, it's been going all over on social media, and Kenyans have a way of flipping things around and even making fun out of it.
Of course, definitely.
That's the best thing about this country. Anyway, it's never that serious. Never that serious. All right. So, coming to the last bit of that DRC and excuse me, and the president heading there. We have our troops in DRC, and of course they are going to stay there until there is, some relative calm in that country. Give me a projection in terms of in the next couple of months to come, what we are likely to achieve as we even head to DRC to help them to bring some peace.
I think I want to, and this I heard from some of the commanders. They said that I think they gave themselves 6 months, but to be realistic, I'm looking at probably a year or so. To be able to not just to disarm the rebels, but also to help them to talk to each other. One of the things most important thing that the KDF can do in DRC is to talk to get the rebels, talk to them, urge them to talk to the government, let them discuss. So if we are there as a peacekeeping force, to be able to keep the peace and also to facilitate, provide a framework for negotiation. I think you're giving yourself maybe between 6 to 1 year. So after 1 year, I'm looking at because if it exceeds 1 year, then it's a big problem. Because I don't want an open-ended presence in these regions. For example, if you ask me, I think we have overstayed in Somalia. We need to, Somalia needs to be encouraged to take care of their country. We don't need to be babysitting them forever. And even for DRC, we need to let them know we are here, and up to 1 year, we expect you to be responsible and to solve your problem within 1 year, because also we have our problems to take care of. We will not be sitting there to babysit them, forever. So I think the president is going to be in his discussion, I think that's one of the things he will be discussing with President Tshisekedi. But after that, of course, he's going to Korea. And of course, I think in terms of foreign policy, I'm one of the people who have advocated for...
Hold that thought. Hold that thought. Because South Korea plays a pivotal role, even in trade. In terms of infrastructure, we depend so much from South Korea. And the president is going to be there for the next 3 days.
3 days, yes.
Let's wait and see how things will pan out. So let's take a break, and when we come back, we're still having that discussion with the CEO of Global Peace Foundation, Daniel Juma Ogutu. Today we are talking about matters in national politics. How beautiful is that? We'll be right back with more after this break. And welcome back. We're still having that discussion. Today we are doing matters international relations, where Kenya stands as a nation and what we stand to benefit when we have our brothers on safe hands. All right, with me in studio I have got Daniel Juma Omondi, who is a Global Peace Foundation, who is also knowledgeable matters national politics as well as foreign relations. Today we want to tackle that as a nation. You studied in South Korea.
Yes, I lived in Korea. I studied Korean. I did Korean, my degree in Korean studies and political science.
Okay. How do you say welcome back to Good Morning Kenya in South Korea? Just say welcome back. On a later
안녕하세요.
Yes.
안녕하세요 means welcome.
Right.
Yes.
And that must also explain why Kenya is extending the relationship between Kenya and South Korea. Are we trying to ditch China, who's been our strongest trade partners for so many years?
In terms of our policy, and I know during the Kibaki administration,
yes,
Kenya has instituted a policy of looking east. And that time, you know, the European partners had kind of abandoned us. And in terms of, in terms of getting loans, grants to be able to build our infrastructure.
Exactly.
There were a lot of conditionalities
yes,
that, for example, the US, the World Bank were putting on Kenya. And this was really, really stressful. And, you know, those are the days of the structural adjustment programs. You know, for you to qualify for a loan, they were giving a lot of conditionalities. Then when the President Kibaki came on board, and Tuju was the foreign minister then,
yes,
we initiated a look east policy. You know, and the look east policy, we are mainly looking at China. And this policy was the one that gave birth to the loans from China. The loans that came without strings attached, loans that came without so much conditionality. They were not questioning about your democracy, about your elections. And you see, China was able to build a lot of roads, infrastructure in this region. But at that point, I was one of the people who advocated that in terms of our look east policy, we need to look to Korea more than China. Because I have lived in Korea. Because I have lived in Korea, and I know that the Korean people, in terms of culture, kind of similar to us. You know, and there was in 2015, I was able to organize a trip to Korea for the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga and Governor Nanok, who is now in State House, and Governor Ongwae. And we took them to the museum. It's called Semolundong Museum. And they could see that Korea, even though it's technologically advanced, it actually came, you know, it actually had similar things like us. For example, they had grass-thatched houses in Korea.
Yes.
You know, they had even these, you know, that flour.
Yes.
What our grandmothers used to be able to make flour. They had those in the museum. So, you know, traditionally, Koreans have traditions. They have something called filial piety. They have, where they urge their people to respect their elders. You know, so this is natural. So if you see a Korean, and this is something I studied in Korea, if you see someone elder coming, you know, you just bow.
Yes.
You bow. You know, you show respect. It doesn't matter whether he's from your party or from where, but if someone is older than you, you naturally need to respect them. And this kind of discipline is what has made Korea grow. So, and then they had something called the New Village Movement.
Yes.
In Korean called Semolundong. So New Village Movement was kind of a community-driven development, whereby if there's a problem in the village, the people come to donate labor, you know, to solve that problem. And rather than wait for government to come and do it, so government can maybe come up with something to facilitate, but the people were able to come and be able to solve that. And you could see during the 1997, the Korea economic crisis, where they borrowed money from IMF, you know, to be able to solve their problems. But they were able to pay that money because the people of Korea were actually donating. They were selling their necklaces, giving it to government to pay off the IMF loan. Today, Korea has paid off their loans, and Korea today is one of the countries, one of the 11th largest trading countries, and one of the countries that is now giving aid, ODA, to other countries. The Korean Export Bank, for example, you know, they gave money in June. They almost gave 683 million to the Kansas City. You know, and then the KAIST university that is being built here is one of the best technological universities. This is being sponsored by the Korean government. So I'm a believer in matters Korean, and I've had this discussion, for example, with some of the people in the administration, that in terms of looking at, for example, the Hustler administration, looking at how Koreans made it. How can we make it as a people? How can we grow our economy by ourselves? We need to go there, and I'm urging the president, when he's in Korea, let him visit the Semolundong Museum. I took Raila Odinga there. Let President Ruto visit Semolundong Museum. Let him see how Koreans suffered like us, and how Korea made a deliberate effort to get out of where they were. You understand? And today Korea is a digital country. Imagine if you're coming from the plane. you take fast trains to the immigration. Everything is fast. Actually, if you visit Korea, after maybe, if you go there maybe after 2 or 3 years, you will not know it. The roads keep changing, everything keeps changing. The lifts nowadays, you don't even press the lift. When you go the lifts, you know, the lift talks to you, you know. Yeah. So I think it is a good thing that the president has made deliberate efforts to go to Korea. This state visit is going to strengthen bilateral relations between the new administration, the President the President Won Suk Yeol. He's never, but he doesn't have any elective experience. He was just a prosecutor, and he was elected. So he has, I think, by inviting President Ruto, I think he wants to strengthen relations. So I'm thinking, if we are able to make the friendship of Kenya and Korea strong, Korea will be able to invest more here. I know Korean investors want to come here. Samsung came, LG came, but there are more conglomerates, you know, who can be able to invest here as long as the president opened the way. And one of the things that I also want to encourage the president, and we now have a Department of Diaspora, discuss with the Korean government to allow Kenyans to be able to teach English in Korea. This is one of the ways Kenyans actually are able, because Kenyans speak very, very good English, and Koreans want to learn English. So South Africans have an agreement with Korea so for their people to teach English in Korea without problems. So if the president can be able to put that as one of the ask the Korean government, allow Kenyan people to be able to teach English. And also Korea imports a lot of labor.
Absolutely.
A lot of labor from other countries. Indonesia, people come from Philippines to work in Korea. Instead of our people going to Saudi Arabia and they are suffering there, Korean people respect human rights.
It seems
let our people go work in Korea. Because they'll be treated with dignity, with respect, rather than the other countries who have been mistreating
You've really painted the picture of South Korea for like a moment I thought I was in Korea. But here we are, we are in Nairobi. It seems we have got so much to tap from that nation, and the 3-day visit, you have a trade policy, the president having the trade policy, the foreign relations policy. You have got, you know, and so many things that the president will have to work with to South Korea. Perhaps if we have the two nations coming together, what will be the outcome ultimately in the long run?
We will learn a lot. In terms of history, in terms of the sacrifices the Korean people made, Kenyans must make sacrifices. And I support the president when he's urging Kenyans to pay taxes. You understand? A nation that does not pay taxes, if we don't encourage our people to pay taxes, we cannot be able to develop our country. So the way Korean people were able to sell their jewelry to pay off their loans, this is our country. So if, for example, President Ruto wants to realize the 4 trillion tax that he wants to collect, we must encourage the people, hustlers, to volunteer to pay taxes whenever they have.
That sounds so easy said than
but it must be convincing. We must be convincing. Let's convince our people
in a more creative way.
You see, when you're doing it in a patriotic manner, if I'm really making money, I volunteer to pay. But there are those who are actually not making money, not working. So let's use the hustler fund to help them to be economic citizens, so that they are able to pay taxes. So in terms of policy, the KRA should be able to convince people to pay taxes, to love their country, rather than close factories who are not paying taxes. Because once you close them, you come up with stringent policies, then people are afraid to invest, to start businesses. They're not able to do that. There's one thing you mentioned about trade. Korea is an export-led economy. Korea did not have resources like gold, diamond, like what we have here. So what the Korean people used to do was industrialize and export. So they had very, very deliberate export-led strategy. You understand? At some point, they were even limiting imports. And if you go to Korea, the cars you find there mainly are Daewoo, Hyundai, Kia, because they had a deliberate, government policy, to discourage a lot of import. You will not find many Toyotas.
It's the same as build Kenya, buy
Kenya. Exactly. And that's one of the reasons why we need to learn from them. And when I was working, I used to work for the government of Korea. I was working for the KOTRA, And I was in charge of the Korean, economic diplomacy in this region, where we brought in, of course, investors, Samsung, LG, they came when I was at KOTRA. And KOTRA is one of the bodies that has been established by the Korean government to be able to promote trade and investment. And I gave, when I did my thesis, I gave a proposition to our Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Yes.
And asked them, can we have a deliberate, basically copy what Korea is doing, a deliberate economic diplomacy, whereby when we send our ambassadors, we are sending them there, not just to play golf or just to have meetings or what. They are going to sell what is made in Kenya. You understand? So, and what Korea has done, Korea has mapped products that are made in Korea. And we have directories of what encompass what is made in Korea. But in Kenya today, we don't have a directory of what is made in Kenya. So, for example, what is made in Mombasa? What can Mombasa export, for example? Now we have avocados. We need a listing of products made in Kenya which can be sold. So when you send our ambassador, you send our ambassador and the commercial attaché, you are telling him you are going there, your biggest whatever, and the deputy president spoke about this. Your biggest responsibility is to sell Kenyan coffee, sell Kenyan avocado, sell Kenyan steel, sell Kenyan labor, sell Kenyan tradition, Kenyan hotels. You understand? The ambassadors must know what they're selling. You can't send someone as an ambassador and end up, he doesn't know, he doesn't have a list of products made in Kenya. This is the only way we will be able to stop, to solve the import and export imbalance that we have. And this lesson, we can only learn it from Korea. Koreans are willing to have this kind of exchange. They're willing to have to train the Kenyan people. They are willing to share their experiences with us. Unlike other countries who will only want to sell to us, but not to be able to buy from us. So Korea is willing. Once the president is able to have this conversation, the president can also encourage Korea, because I know Korea is importing a lot of tea from Iran and even coffee from Brazil. Encourage Korea to import Kenyan coffee. That market is big. The Korean people love coffee. If we can just have Kenyan coffee going to Korea, then this person we are talking about, the trillions that president wants to, we will get it from the sale of our coffee, from the sale of our tea. At some point, we used to export our tea to Iran, to Brazil, to some of these countries, and then they find their ways in Korea. And I must thank Ambassador Ngovi Kitao, who was the second ambassador, first ambassador in Korea. He really managed to help Kenyan tea, Kenyan coffee to have. Now we have even restaurants in Korea that are selling Kenyan coffee. But we need to do more. So this trip, the president and these people must ensure that they write down what they need, the outcome, what they need to ask. What they ask for, they will get it. But they must ask. If you go to this such kind of a meeting without knowing what you can get from them, then you lose it.
Absolutely. CEO Ambassador Ngovi Kitao has been in the show, and he watches this show in quite because a knowledgeable fella,
a good friend of mine,
with a lot of knowledge matters South Korea and foreign policy in terms of Kenya and South Korea and what we stand to gain from there. CEO, I'm afraid that we have to come to a close. Thank you so much. It's been 1 hour of quick fire, and thank you so much for coming to the show. We are waiting to see how that visit is going to change the fortunes between Kenya and South Korea, and most importantly in terms of trade, because what you've said, Kenya and South Korea shares a lot of culture and traditions, which is quite important. And I think at the end of the day, the president will have to come back home with a basket full of goodies. Thank you so much for your time. All right, that has been Daniel Juma Omondi, who is the Global Peace Foundation CEO, giving us Knowledge 101, matters international relations and where we stand as a nation. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. Let's take a break. Good Morning Kenya still continues after this break, so don't go away. We'll be right back.